Hello, I'm Janet. Welcome to this lesson. Today we are going to tackle a question from Blossom of the Savanna. Now, and the question says, explain the themes highlighted in Blossoms of the Savanna by Ole Kulet. Our first theme, we look at positive Nasilian culture or traditions. Culture refers to the customs, it refers to habits and behaviors that characterize a society's, community's, or nation's way of life. On the other hand, traditions form part of culture of a people and are handed down from one generation to the next. Positive aspects of culture in Nasila are important in holding people together. There are many aspects of Nasilian culture which are positive. The songs the young girls, the young people, and children sing during Olekailo's homecoming ceremony attest to the rich Ma culture. The narrator says, from the children's performance, it was evident that the cherished Nasilian traditional dance would stand the test of time. It is as it is written on page 44. The writer says that the party was full of pomp and gaiety, and this is brought out by jewelry worn by the guests, such as ivory, beads, colored laces, kangas, and shukas. All attesting to the rich cultural heritage of the Ma society. Generosity as a virtue is seen in Simeren, who invites all those present in the party to serve his brother's lavish hospitality. Food and drinks are served in generous measures to all those present, as it is found on page 47. Ole Musanka, an elder who blesses Ole Kaelo's home, glorifies Malkacha, saying that it was the blood and marrow that gave sustenance to the body. According to him, home is Ma, Nasila, family and children. In page 52 we find this. His only problem is that he supports FGM or female genital mutilation, a cultural practice that does not exist or assist women in any way. Now, our second theme is the negative culture and traditions. Negative aspects of culture in Nasila are strongly opposed by the young generation. To them, such practices should be shunned because they have outlived their usefulness in a society that is slowly but surely embracing modernity and civilization. Female genital mutilation (FGM) is an outdated cultural practice that has no standing in the changing Nasila. To those that support it, it is meant to tame a wild gender just as cattle that require to be dehorned. We will read more from page 22 when you get time. When it was discovered several years back, it was to find a lasting solution to the exploitation of the Ma women by the Ilarin Khan warriors that gave birth to N. Mukaratani, the female circumciser, and our Olmurunya was shaped, sharpened, and handed to her. Mama Milanoi also affirms the origin of this cultural practice, saying it was the shame and anger that was provoked by Ilarincon towns, lewd teasing and provocative posturing that made the women do what they did to curtail those desires the worthless predators exploited to prey upon them. Resian is very much opposed to this retrogressive practice. She says, I would rather live in the noisiest place on earth than live anywhere near a vagabond who would accost me with intention of mutilating my sexuality. We can read further on that from page 33. At this early point, she makes her stand clear that she is opposed to the practice that disfigures and damages female sexuality. She is bitter and has pain in her heart due to threats of undergoing female genital mutilation. The Olmurunya, the instrument used to conduct it, is scary. The writer reveals that it was a blade-like tool, sharpened like a smoothing plane blade, and the Enmkaratani showed the way she went about a profession of transforming young girls into young women through the cut of Olmurunya. We can read more on page 58. She wonders what the use of FGM in today's woman is. She observes that the practice is being fueled by men who use it to continue oppressing women. One of their ways of oppressing us is to demand that female genital mutilation be perpetuated against us forever, as it is in page 91. The Nkoiboni, mother of Olarinkoi, tells Resian, as soon as we clip that erogenous salacity from you that distress harms, you will become a respected woman, on page 229. And this was not the original reason as to why female genital mutilation was invented, but the practice has been maintained to purportedly keep women faithful. We go to our next theme. It is theme of alienation, and alienation is becoming a stranger to what one initially belonged to or being isolated from others. Alienation in the novel Blossoms of the Savanna, alienation in the novel Blossoms of the Savanna is a result of embracing new culture. Ole Kulet and his family have lived for 30 years in Nakuru town, where he has brought up his daughters until his retrenchment. This has alienated him from many cultural practices which he comes across with once he returns to Nasila. During his absence from Nasila, it was his brother Simiren who represented him in the Ilmolerian clan in sacred rituals such as girls' initiation. We can read further from page 11. While his brother has married 4 wives, for the culture permits polygamy, Ole Kulet has only 1 wife and is contemptuously likened to a mono-eyed giant who stood on legs of straw. We can read further from page 13, showing that his position and stand in Nasila is precarious and unstable. He regards himself as civilized and calls the clan elders megalomaniacs who are still trapped in archaic traditions that were better buried and forgotten. During Ole Kulet's homecoming party, his daughters jokingly observe that he does not know how to dance and that he should be coached. His inability to dance, perhaps, is a result of being away from Nasila for many years. After settling in Nasila, the writer says that a new Ole Kulet was emerging, and he was becoming an Assyrian very fast. From page 62. Mama Milanoi reveals that her husband was not a strict follower of Nasila traditions. Only prescribing to those aspects he considered decent. Perhaps that is why he allows Oloi Sudori to marry his daughter Resian, a thing that goes against the cultural grain of Nasila. She asks, how could a man who was the age of her husband be her son-in-law? Where was Nasila culture? We can read further on page 104. Several characters undergo a cultural conflict or dilemma in the novel as a result of encountering and embracing the modern culture. Nasila culture, which is part of the larger Ma culture, is also in crisis as a result of clashing with modernity. Mama Milanoi, wife to Ole Kaelo, is at cultural crossroads. She is in dilemma as far as the question of female genital mutilation is concerned. She understands the danger she would expose her daughters in Nasila, where there are both positive and negative cultural practices, and wishes she could shield them and protect them. You can read from page 30. She knows this would not be possible because Nasila people were very intolerant of those who ignored their cherished cultural sensibilities. She knows that she is in breach of Nasila traditions by not having circumcised her daughters by then. While back in Nakuru and before her husband's retrenchment, Mama Milanoi admits that FGM was a non-issue in that family. For she had regarded the practice as archaic rite that has been discarded and forgotten, but there it was now, rearing its ugly head and threatening to wreak havoc in the young innocent lives of her daughters. Mama Milano is torn between yielding her daughters to the barbaric culture and losing their faith, love, and confidence, and going against Nasila culture and becoming an alien in the clan. She fears doing anything that would wrong her husband and hence chooses to tread carefully around the matter. She comes out as a weak woman who shies from declaring her stand on Nasila culture when she meekly tells her husband, Our culture Our culture is everything and it rules our lives. Her dutiful role of a faithful and obedient wife to Ole Kaelo comes before her duty to her daughters, hence chooses to obey his edicts. She wishes to join forces with the likes of Minik or Emma Kerere and fight against the practices like FGM, but then fears for her marriage. If she aligned herself with a person who Nasla regarded as having such an obnoxious reputation, where would our marriage stand? She even wonders whether as a family they they are traditionalists or modernists, especially by embracing retrogressive cultural values. We go to our next theme. We look at the theme of marriage, theme of love, and family. Ole Kaelo has effectively played his role as a father by providing and putting up a house for his family in Nasila. The house he has built for his family in Nasila is so magnificent that Mama Milano exclaims, Father of all creation, this is but a dream. We read from page 30. Taya says that the house is magnificent, while Resian exclaims that she has never seen anything like it before, as we read from page 31. At another level, both parents fail in their emotional obligations to one of their daughters, Resian. Olekailo, for instance, has instilled fear in her such that there is no free interaction between father and daughter. Has hated her from birth, keeps reprimanding her, abuses her, and finally, greatly betrays her by conspiring to marry her off to his friend Oloi Sudori, as it is written on page 200 to 210. And when this aborts, he turns to his favorite daughter Tayo, but not before he has her forcibly circumcised. The Izato good and the peaceful family, especially when he was in Nakuru, has fallen apart at the end of the novel due to his grade for wealth. In the traditional Nasilian culture, love is not entirely a prerequisite to marriage. Although Olekailo was smitten with love for Mama Milanoi the first time he saw her in church, her feelings for him are not required for them to marry. We are told that from the moment he saw her, he had been obsessed and was still obsessed 20 years later, as we read from page 9. On his wife's side, we are told she accepted him without any resistance. Traditions did not allow her to offer any as expected of her. She did not resist. What she considers is his character. We are told that she knew he was a good man, a great provider, a planner, and a man with the will to succeed. She also knew he loved her genuinely. He continues loving his wife many years after their marriage, showing his satisfaction with her. When he wakes up, he says, "Oh, did he not have a wife there?" He was elated. Simiren, brother to Olekaelo, is polygamist, but he treats all his wives equally. It was only Yeyo Botor who occupied a special position in the home and who received favor from her husband without anyone frowning. Communal life, selflessness, and respect characterize this family, and there are a few disagreements and disputes. The family in general is a haven of peace. I think that makes Resiane and Tayo admire traditional way of life in their uncle's polygamous marriage. Tayo puts love first before culture dictates on who one should marry. Their culture does not allow intercultural marriage, but nonetheless, she falls in love with Joseph Pamuat, who belongs to her own clan, and hence they are not allowed to marry. Tayo is assertive enough, for she is the one who approaches Joseph saying, "I know you are in love with me the way I am in love with you." Joseph reciprocates her love for him, saying, "I loved you the moment I saw you during your father's homecoming ceremony." When Redsian asks Joseph to be her parturition, he says that culture does not allow it, for she is like his sister. Taya loves her sister so much that she has stepped in to fill the vacuum that has been left in Resian's heart. Due to her parents' cold attitude towards her, Resian has relied on her sister for protection since primary, and Tayo has made it her duty to mop her tears. Our next theme is the theme of suffering. Now, there are several characters who suffer in the hands of blunt Nasirian culture. Resian, for instance, is slapped by her father for refusing to marry Oloi Sudori. After this, she undergoes a series of mental and physical suffering. She suffers as she is transported to the assumed mini sheep ranch by Olarinkoi. At night during the journey, she fears attack of wild animals. She also had, as it is written, a layer of dust in her mouth, in her in her nostrils, in her ears, and on her eyelashes. She suffers. She suffers in the hands of Olarinkoi and his mother. She is physically assaulted by Olarinkoi until she passes out, after which he proceeds to rape her. After the sexual assault, she falls sick and has hallucinations. We are told that when she later came to, confused, fleeting impressions registered on her awareness. You can read more on page 223. Taya also suffers the blunt of archaic retrogressive Nasilian culture. She is forced against her will to undergo the female genital mutilation. During the painful rite, we all thought she screamed and screamed, but nobody came to her rescue. Then she fainted. We came to 2 days later. When she came to 2 days later, she was so bitter and angry. Now the next theme is the theme of religion. We look at theme of religion and superstitions. During the homecoming party of Ole Kaelo, an elder is expected to bless his home before Ole Kaelo can be received back in Nasila, we are told. The elders would also bless the wife, children, and property that he brought back, and which were all henceforth going to be wealth of the Ilmolerian clan. The ceremony is conducted by Ole Musanka, who is to conduct the sacred ceremony of officially receiving Ole Kaelo into the Ilmolerian culture and offer blessings for his family's well-being. Apart from blessing Ole Kaelo, the elder has special blessings for Tayo. He even prophesies that would be the mother of the next leader. This man also curses Emakerere, the wasp, whose real name is Menik, for fighting female genital mutilation. It says, may she go down with the setting sun. Tayo Botor, Resian, and Tayo's aunt tell their mother that their daughter Resian has Olkuenyi, a bad spirit, and it is only circumcision that could get rid of it. Mama Milanoi remembers that when she was young, diseases were treated through a bloodletting ceremony known as angam. Several nicks were made on ailing sections of the body and blood was sucked out. Cases are indications of superstitious nature of this community. The Nkoiboni is a diviner. It is said that he has prophesied that Ole Kaelo would move to Nasila with his two uncircumcised daughters and that his son would go to live in that home and finally bring with him one of Ole Kaelo's daughters to be circumcised before marrying her. Going by that, it is evident that prophecies and predictions are true. As Nabaru and Resian escaped from Olarinkoy, Olarinkoy's curses are saying, my mother curse will find you there. He also boasts that his mother's predictions always come to pass. Our next theme is women. We look at women as their own enemies now. How are women as their own enemies in this book? Much as modern women opposes retrogressive cultural practices such as FGM, majority of women support these practices. Mama Milanoy is in support of FGM even as her daughters fight to resist the harmful practice. The writer puts, did she not support female genital mutilation that was prevalent among the people of Nasila? Despite being a woman, she betrays her daughter by giving her over to the Karatani to be circumcised. She also keeps quiet and does not speak to oppose her husband's plan to marry off her daughters to an old man. This is despite the fact that she is inwardly opposed to the whole idea. Now, according to oral tradition. It was women who came up with the idea of FGM. They made a lasting resolution to sexual exploitation of women by the Olarinkoi, and that it gave rise to N. Mukaratani, and Ol Muranya was shaped, sharpened, and handed to harm. The same practice that was useful then comes to haunt young girls such as Tayo and Rusian. Nabaru also finds fault with the Ma women. She believes that they were the perpetrators of FGM and that no woman had taken up the Olmuranya to circumcise a girl. Resian says that if all women said no to the detestable culture, men would do nothing, and the practice would stop. However, women are not speaking in one voice, hence it has become very difficult to fight cultural practices that harm them. Olarinkoi's mother also greatly serves in oppressing fellow women. She is planning to have Resian circumcised before she can be married by her son. The three women that Tayo composes a sanct ridicule also serve in oppressing women. We are told that they collaborated with men to oppose women, and on we jump into the next theme of war and violence. Now, the traditional Ma community in which the novel is set takes pride in engaging in external battles and wars to protect their territory. So, as an economic undertaking, there are many cases of violence reported in the clan. One remarkable war is that between Olarinkoi and Ma warriors that led to the Ma people being ruled for many years. After many years under the Ilarinkon rule, we are told that the Ma people eventually revolted and overthrew the Olarinkoi despotic rule. Ole Kailo attacks his daughters Resian for refusing to cooperate in his plan to have her married to Oloisudori. That is another war. After a moment of frozen immobility, her father suddenly pushed his chair, moved fast from behind the desk and slapped her face, sending her reeling back so that she almost fell. The fight between the girls at Minik's ranch and Oloisudori's men ends the protracted oppression of the man on Kaila's daughters. We are told that his convoy was reduced to smoldering shells and acrid smell of burning tires. There is also a fight between Olarinkoi and the men that wanted to rape Resian and Tayo. Now, the bravery of Olarinkoi saves the girls from being raped. When the two young men caught up by Olarinkoi and his men, they are beaten up before being spared. Women are also violent. The case in point is the old man they punish for being infatuated by a young girl, we are told. Then all the women proceeded to the homestead of the accused. Armed with all kinds of weapons that included firewood and their husbands' knob carries, they go on to beating him thoroughly and stripping him naked. We find this on page 116. Finally, this man dies and the women feel satisfied that they have avenged their anger. Now, thank you so much for watching. This was a long video of the essay on the themes highlighted in Blossoms of the Savanna, and I hope this helps you to improve on your English, especially your literature part. Kindly remember to like, to share, and to subscribe to this channel. See you in the next one.